You're listening to Wisdom of the Ancients, where ancient wisdom is remembered. Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome to Wisdom of the Ancients. I'm your host, Shelley. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here in this space. Thank you for bringing your incredible energy, your vibration, your frequency, your love, your pure hearts. I can just feel you. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We have an amazing show today. Yeah, this is the Wisdom of the Ancient series. It's about ancient wisdom. It's about really being here in the community, in the collective consciousness of the group. It's about what was once known and practices, ancient knowledge and wisdom, not only from our own planet, but also from other worlds, galaxies, realms, and dimensions too. And for this next month, we're going to be focusing on expressions of truth and expansion. So may we all be open to receiving any messages that the Divine has for us so that we become a true offering and do our part to help raise the collective consciousness for all beings in all realms. Let's be open to truth. Let's be open to expansion. Let's be open to embodying our true selves, our pure selves. So right now, as we begin this show, let's call in the ancient ones. Let's call in the beings of love, light, power, and service to support us today and to open our hearts so that we may be fully present. Beautiful. So let me introduce our next guest to you. Jarrad Hewett is the best-selling author of Love, Life, God, The Journey of Creation, as well as the brand new book, The Answer is Energy, available now in bookstores worldwide and in many other places. Jarrad is a multidimensional energy expert who specializes in visionary teaching and remote healing energy work that allows reconnection and healing at every level of being. He is a bridger of consciousness, an awakener of souls, and a catalyst for high-level vibrational change that has brought about quantum growth, abundance, healing, and instantaneous change and manifestation in the lives of millions of clients across the globe, and we're all going to experience some of that today. The transformational energy he channels brings about change that goes far beyond the 3D reality and opens up the self to its truest and most connected experience of knowing divine love at every level of being. His natural abilities to see and transmute all forms of energy have helped him bring about the highest forms of planetary evolution and spiritual awakening in the world today. And everyone, Jarrad is going to be talking today about the answer is energy, creating your ideal life, embracing true abundance, and knowing your worth from within. So on this call, you will discover how to let go of what's no longer serving you, including limiting beliefs, negative thought patterns, and old stories that may have been holding you back for years without even realizing it. You'll release the need to fix yourself and quiet that voice of your inner critic and feel more love, compassion, acceptance, and appreciation for yourself than ever before, and connect more fully to the love of pure spirit and source energy so that your entire being begins to align with everything you want to manifest, empowering truly living your passions and creating your deepest desires. And then Jarrad's going to be taking live callers, so make sure you put in *2 to ask your question online or enter your question in the question box, and we'll get to that. We'll get to as many as we can, and Jarrad's also going to take everyone through a financial freedom activation. So, Jarrad, let me get this started by just really welcoming you. So thank you so much for being here with the Wisdom of the Ancients community. I know many people on the phone today know you. Thank you for bringing your own people, really merging the communities so that we can really focus on truth and we can focus on expressions of love and becoming vessels of love and light and expansion. So again, thank you so much for being here today.
Pleasure. That's what it's all about. I think that's what everybody needs right now is more of that expansion, more of that love, more of that light, and to be able to realize that, you know, it's not just about being able to have that love and light in a separate space, you know, far up on a mountaintop somewhere, even though that's nice, but to be able to take that out into the world and to be able to create it, to be able to create abundance, to create physicality with it, to know that we're not, you know, our spiritual aspects, our spiritual gifts are not separate from our physical being. We've separated it for so long. We've kind of oftentimes, I know I certainly did in my journey, I got into energy, even, sort of through my own story of wanting to heal myself and really understanding that it was all energy, but really looking at energy as an escape because of the pain I was in the physical world. But when we can realize that we are the energy that we've been directing, we can move mountains, and we are strong divine beings. We have, as you know, it's the wisdom of the ancients says it all. We are that energy, and when we can truly know that and tap into that, we can reset and reprogram and create anything in our lives. We blow off what has been the limitation, and we open up for unlimited potential in our lifetimes. And I know that sounds like a pretty big statement, but I've experienced it. I've seen it happen, and we have people, in our communities that have experienced it time and time again. And so that's what we're here to do tonight. We're not here to just talk. We're here to do some big things.
Yeah, beautiful. And you've said some pretty powerful things there, and I think that there's many. So I want to talk about the physical and the spiritual, the merging of those gifts. But before we do that, Jarrad, talking about unlimited potential in this lifetime, I know that some of us or some people look at that almost as like, well, that's a holy grail, and I have to work so hard to get there, and I'm not sure if I'll ever make it. And I hear this all the time, but I'm having trouble really embodying what that truly means. And so many people feel that unlimited potential in this lifetime is almost unattainable. And there's a lot of, belief systems and paradigms that go into that. But, I would love it, Jarrad, if you would share with the community now, a little bit about the truths that have come to you around what that means, and how truly that paradigm can be absolutely shifted.
So I think what I want to do there, the easiest thing to do there is to work backwards. And when I say think, it's the answer already kind of came in there, but I thought, there's going to be a few people that's going to rub the wrong way. But everybody bear with me, because even if we plug into something where you go, I don't like that answer, all that's doing is it's showing you where your resistance is. And where your resistance is the place that we get stuck. And so it's okay if we plug into a space within you where you go, and you see where you're stuck. That's good, because we'll help you get unstuck on this call. The places that we most often find that we hit that boundary within ourselves, or we hit that wall out in life where we don't think that the infinite is possible, is usually the thing that we are most attached to. For myself, very early on, it was health. I was very, very, very unhealthy. I was sick, very overweight, had heart problems, had anxiety, depression, just all kinds of physical issues, mental and chemical, go down the list. And I was very attached to the idea of being well. I was very attached to the idea of, for example, a lot of times people who are working with money issues, which is something that we're going to talk a lot about tonight, they are attached to the idea of being successful. And a lot of times the very thing that we are attached to, we create this kind of wall of resistance to anything else, and that attachment actually keeps us from being there. So if I were to say to somebody, I'll use myself as the example. If I were to say to myself, 20 years ago, you will never get out of this bed. You will never have a heart that beats in rhythm. You will never be off of medications. You will never be happy. How does that make you feel? Would have made me feel very, 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 very angry. It would have made me feel helpless, just quite frankly pissed off. And those feelings that I would have had would have not been a result of what I was already feeling, because I was already feeling those things. I was already feeling helpless. I was already feeling angry. But I would have been feeling those in a way that was showing me where I was not accepting where I was and where I was attached to changing and fixing it. Now, there's a difference between creating something new and fixing. And when we talk about, for example, money, if we are attached to, if we're attached to the idea of abundance, for example, we want to fix, say, our debt. We want to overcome that space. We wind up fighting that space. We wind up spending a lot of energy on that space. And so what that creates within us is a space where we're focused on what we don't want. And in focusing on what we don't want, we start to bring more of that dualism into our reality. We start to bring in more of the templates of contrast, whether it's, to feel the contrast until it gets so bad that we ultimately give up the contrast, which is a lot of times why we create contrast in our life. It's not so that it hurts so bad that we eventually go, okay, I've suffered enough, now it can be okay. It's so that we realize I don't have to suffer. I'm playing in an arena in which I don't want to belong. And so the more we create that contrast, the more we find ourselves playing in that dualism. When we can step into that space and realize, I don't need this. This is not what I'm about. This is not who I am. Everything in my life is energy. And when I can simply put it in a focused way on what I do want, on what makes me happy, then we look at, okay, what are our definitions of happiness? A lot of people move right into, okay, especially in the money arena, we go freedom. Okay, freedom for me is paying off my bills. Well, freedom is more than paying off your bills. Freedom is it's not the escape from the debt. It's not the escape from life. It's the ability to communicate. It's the ability to express. It's the ability to create whatever it is you want to create in that moment from your heart's desire. So it also goes to a much larger space of opening up to who and what you truly are. And so one of the reasons that it seems like it is such a limited paradigm in this life is because we're taught at a very early young age to shut down. We're taught to not live in that heart space. We're taught to not honor who we are, who we want to be. And so we start to segment and we start to compartmentalize who we are, who we think we should be, what we believe we can do, what we believe we're capable of. And so all of these things start to weigh down on us. We don't believe that we belong in our power. We don't believe that we're worthy of it. All of these things start to weigh us down and form, basically, if you think of it like a symphony, they start to form the strings and the drums, and all of these things start to form the song of who we are. And as we play it, we start to go out into the world and we go, okay, I can attain this much in this respect, but I can't be infinite, because being infinite is also going to push up against my expectations of who I am in this respect in my life, or how my parents will view me, how society will view me, how my siblings or my spouse or my partner will view me. And so it really comes down to, once we hit that level, well, who do I say I am? And who am I ready to embrace myself as? And am I ready to let go of all of the attachments? Am I ready to set down all of my stories so that I can slip through the eye of that needle, so that I can thread that needle and no longer be weighed down by the stories of who I am or what I have to be, so that I can truly create whatever it is that I want to create. And then again, we move into the space of action. So it's a very multi-layered, multi-leveled thing, but the easiest thing it comes back to, having kind of started at the sort of outskirts there and moving it back, is it comes back down into, are you ready to fully embrace and love yourself? Are you ready to, and not from an ego space where you go, okay, I'm going to tell everybody to shove it and I'm going to, move on and my way or the highway, and I'm just going to live my life and to hell with everyone else. But are you ready to look at your life and look at where you may be doing things right, but also where maybe you're doing things in a way that are not productive? And are you really ready to look at where you can change things, and how ready are you to actually create the life you want? We all want the easy button. We all want to press that button and have everything come magically to us. Yet vibrationally, there's a space in us where it's not coming to us because we're not ready to hold that vibration. And so if you think of your spiritual journey and your physical journey all as you building the space to house everything that you desire, it starts to reframe that for you. It starts to say, okay, everything that I've ever done has not been a punishment by the universe. It's not been necessarily even a lesson. It's been an opportunity to build a muscle so that I can start to hold everything and carry the vibration that I'm wanting to carry into my future. And that future always begins in the moment of now. So it really comes back to, am I ready to embrace and love myself? And how ready am I to express who I am? And if I don't know who I am I ready to dive in and learn who I am and not be afraid of what anyone else is going to think and not even be afraid of what I'm going to think?
Right. Beautiful. Thank you. There's a few things I wanted to touch on, Jarrad. Right in the beginning, you spoke about our physical gifts not being separate from our physical gifts. From our spiritual gifts. And then just a couple of minutes ago, you spoke about, are you ready to fully embody and love yourself? And are you ready to let go of attachments? Some of us might feel that if we feel a certain way towards money, abundance, prosperity, even love, even affection, that is a physical third-dimensional trait, and that we want to maybe get away from that feeling. But it's really nicely tied in. If you talk about being ready to let go of attachment, it really has to tie in to how we view the physical, how we view the abundance and the prosperity. And can you maybe help us understand how the physical and the spiritual really are one and the same?
Yeah, I mean, so I love that you asked that question, because a lot of spiritual people have an aversion to money. It's the idea that kind of, my favorite example of this is kind of the idea that money is evil, right? Or money is dirty. And my favorite answer to that is, so if you throw, a bunch of dollar bills in a corner, they're just going to sit in that corner. They're not going to do anything. It's people, and it's people's energy that, what they do with that money. And so what that really plugs us into is the judgment of who we think will become with that money, or the judgment we have around power, things of that nature. So if we look at it in terms of just pure energy, we can look at ourselves. You can put your hand under a really high-powered microscope and kind of see all the way through it. Your electrons and neutrons and molecules and atoms. You can do the same thing with the table. You can do the same thing with anything. You can really start to see the space that everything comes from. And so if you can think in terms of everything is energy, that's a really kind of I know that's a thing that a lot of people say, it becomes kind of cliche, but when you can really understand that, and you can understand, okay, everything that I think, everything that I believe about money, everything that I believe about spirituality, everything I believe about love, if I had been born 10,000 miles away, if I had, tomorrow, if I had, a head injury or something, I might forget all of that. If I'd been born in a different family, in a different religion, I'd been raised in a different way, what about me is actually my true essence versus what about me are things that I've learned? What about me are things that I have maybe genetically have been sort of passed down to the family? What are life experiences that I've taken on through those genetic beliefs? What have I created that have been reinforced or created similar things within me? So when you can really understand it's all energy, and when we start to have, our minds, our ego, we're self-reinforcing beings. Our mind is built to both, in a way, solve problems as well as reinforce the belief systems that we have. And so as we start to move into that more spiritual realm, and that's kind of how it looks in the beginning, how it feels, because we really are moving from that kind of 3D reality into a much wider reality. Now, that wider reality in the beginning feels separate from the 3D reality, yet it's not. It is a wider reality that is inclusive. It's kind of like if you were, like a microbe, and you've spent your whole life living on a carrot, and so your whole world is that carrot, and then suddenly that carrot gets chopped into a soup, and suddenly, now there is, squash, and there are celery, and there are onions, and there's broth, and garlic. There's all these other things in that soup. You're a piece of that, yet there are so many so much more in that broth. There are so many other things to explore. And so as we start to basically awaken to the broader perspective, we realize that third dimensionality is a part of the whole. It's just a denser part. And so as you lift up, you realize, okay, I chose to be in a time and space where, particularly talking about money, where money is the way in which we provide for ourselves. There are some communities, if we'd have been born 1,000 years ago, we would have traded cattle or goats. 2,000 years ago, we might have, traded glass and beads and spices. So money is just, it's called currency, and it's current. That's all it is. And when you can let go of the judgment of that, and for a very long time, money has had a very patriarchal, controlling, sorry, as my dog shakes it off in the background here, money has had a very negative connotation. Money has been, it's the haves and the have-nots. People have used it to control. People have used it as safety. People have used it as means through which to separate. And as we enter into this kind of new space, and that's one thing that I will say, that is the old 3D paradigm of money. When you can start to look at money as a mechanism through which you can allow yourself to express your life. You can allow yourself, and then sometimes that pulls up anger in people because there's a space in them. Again, it triggers those old beliefs of I'm not supposed to be here, I don't belong in my power, I'm not supposed to be creation itself. It's kind of that template where we've been waiting for someone else to do it for us. We've had the belief that if we sit down and we keep our nose to the grindstone, and if we work really hard, somebody else will come in and quote unquote save us. And this is really the energy of self-creation. If we will allow ourselves to move into the space of understanding that, A, it doesn't have to be difficult. Now, when we say it doesn't have to be difficult, the first thing that does is plugs us into all the places where we've really invested our energy into making it difficult. And it's kind of like if we've been sick for 10 years, right? And suddenly, our whole life is about surviving and overcoming, and then suddenly we're well, our identity is completely taken from us, and we don't know what to do with that. So when we start to change the paradigm of money from one of struggle, patriarchy, debt, overcoming, it can be a little bit of a space where you really have to look at, where am I with my own energy? How free am I? How willing am I to let go of the notion that I have to, and when I say pay for things, I don't mean, swipe your debit card, but I mean karmically. How open to you are the notion are you that you can live a life that is free and joyful and creative and expressive? How this goes into the throat chakra energy and the heart energy. Are you ready and willing to play big? And are you ready and willing to be seen in the world? So many times as light workers, we don't want to be seen because to be seen plugs us into that template of, it's back to the Salem witch trials. It's back to, crucify. It's back to burn the witch. It's all of those templates that so many of us have carried lifetime after lifetime. And so those are the things that we're all being asked to give up now, because we're being asked to reframe the world. We cannot reframe the world by escaping it. There's a great saying by a guy named Jesus, be in the world, not of it.
Right.
But so many of us are afraid to be in the world because we feel like if we're in the world will overtake us. And one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself is the ability to function in the world. And that is the ability to express yourself. And one of the most freeing aspects of expression in this world that you can have is the ability to take care of yourself. I mean, think about it. It's a lot of times, we talk about abundance and people say, well, abundance is great, but I've got to just pay my bills. That's abundance. Abundance is you being able to make the choices that you desire to make so that you can have that space of realizing you are not just a divine being or a spiritual being in a physical form, but you are the bridging of both of those things. It's not about being physical and trying to escape back into non-physical or about waiting for, this magical moment of ascension. You are the ascension right now. This is you in a body mastering energy, and it's about being ready and willing and knowing that it doesn't have to be difficult, it doesn't have to be hard.
Oh, beautiful. You're in a body mastering energy. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to switch gears a little bit, Jarrad, because you have recently, I don't know how recently, but it's fresh. It's fresh. It's new. It's hot off the press. You've recently written a book which is all about energy. It's The Answer is Energy, creating your ideal life, embracing true abundance, and knowing your worth from within. And just those three things, creating your ideal life, that has such an amazing vibration to it. Embracing true abundance, that has an amazing vibration to it. And knowing our worth, knowing your worth from within. I mean, these are so the essence of these is so high vibrational. So it's beautiful that you've written this book, and I know it's going to really change lives, and you yourself are going to continue to be of service through the words and the energy and the vibration that you put in the book. So I want to say thank you so much for doing that. And then I wanted to ask you, what was really the inspiration around writing this book? What did you have in mind for everyone who in the future is going to read the book?
So one of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got was from a friend of mine who basically we were kind of talking about, and this was a previous book I had written, but we were talking about books that we like to read, and I was just talking about writing, and his comment to me was, write the book that if you didn't know everything that you knew, if you hadn't learned the lessons that you'd learned and had the connection and the gifts and knew what you knew, write what you would want to be able to tell yourself in this life. And as I began working with people, I've been working with people on abundance for years now, and implementing it in my own life as well, my own money story, from going and being massively in debt to creating a 7-figure income and generating a company and being the voice of television networks. Being able to do that, this book for me was all about, because it really does start with knowing your worth from within. It starts with, because a lot of people, you say, okay, what is abundance to you? And they say, oh, I'd like a yacht, a private island. And you look at their energy and that doesn't resonate with them. Because there are other things in their life that they truly would like. There are spaces in, say, their love field that need to be filled. There are spaces within relationships that need to be made whole, and there are other places and spaces of wounds that are ready to be healed before the money can start to flow. Because we really are comprehensive beings. We are not just, we're not just one little subject separate from other subjects. Every single subject flows through together. We are, like water. You can't just pull one little drop out and say, aha, this is the drop, and once I change it, I can put it back into the pool and everything will change. Maybe one little thing will change, but we really are a fluid body of energy. And so the book is literally about taking you through every subject of life and really fine-tuning the instruments, being able to go through and say, okay, what is it in relationships? What is it in career? What is it, if there's things from childhood, whatever it is, being able to live from a space of, and create a space of gratitude and of love, and really beginning to tune in. A lot of people don't even know what their desires are. If you said, what are you here for? What is your purpose and passion? Most people, they have a head answer, but they don't really feel it in their heart. Or they don't really understand. And when you can really tune in and tap into that, you can start to implement a new template of wealth where the universe starts to give you new ideas. You start to meet new people. You start to experience synchronicity. And so I've been doing 21-day, 30, I started as 30-day, and that's why I formed and framed the book this way. But I've been doing programs that way for almost a decade now. And so this was my way of just saying, basically thank you to everyone, but also putting this information in written form for people that, can't afford to do those retreats, and say, here it is. This is my journey. This is the journey of tens of thousands of people, and this is about being able to find that abundance. This is about being able to create your ideal life, because there are so many people out there. You can turn on the TV and see it. You can open the newspaper and read about it. People who are in pain, people who are suffering, and we don't need to suffer. We don't need to be in pain. That's not why we're here. There are ways that we can simply let our guard down and breathe and connect into source and have a space where we feel home and we feel loved. And in that feeling of home and love, we start to open the infinite gateway to everything we've been desiring. It's not from the mind. It's not because we don't want it, enough. It's not because we haven't worked hard enough or pushed hard enough. There are just little tweaks that we can make in our energy system that begin to open us up. And that's really what the book was about. It was just about letting people know the answer is energy, and this is what it's all about.
So if I and I haven't read the book, but I'm looking at the chapter summary, and wow, it is so. It's not just comprehensive. There's so many areas here where this information can be, utilized, and part of my path, Jarrad, also is to and my purpose is to help distill what might be esoteric into practical for my community. So, so people who know me always know that I'm going to be asking questions about, well, how does this relate to us in an everyday fashion? We're spiritual beings, but however, we're in a human body. We're on the earth plane. One thing that really stood out to me here, because it's so important to me, and I know to those of us who are looking to raise our vibration, are the meditations. And I know that every one of your chapters comes with a special audio meditation, it says. Can you speak to us a little bit about those audio meditations and how we can incorporate them into our, daily lives?
Sure. So with the actual book, the chapters have printed meditations, and then there are 3 meditations that actually come with the book. And I did that because we cover finance, we cover relationships, and then we cover, because we have relationships with everything. We don't just have relationships with people. We have relationships with the universe. We have relationships, with our people at work. We have relationships with our own thoughts, with our own voice inside of us. And so all of these things, and then the other one is being able to release everything, which gets into the space of attachment. And kind of going back to what we said about attachment, this is another kind of thing that goes back to having stuff. The thing that I always say to people is it's great to have stuff, just don't let the stuff have you, because that's where we get into the space of attachment. That's where it becomes a thing where our ego starts to get involved, or where we start to become addicted to ways of thinking, or things of that nature, where we start to close off to that source inspiration. But the reason that I did the meditations at the end of each chapter were because it gives us a space to get out of our head and actually get into the heart and feel it. Because it's one thing, Ian, to know it in your head. It's one thing, there's a lot of people walking around with a lot of knowledge, but that knowledge is maybe disconnected from the heart. And if you don't have the experiential knowledge, if you don't have the experience of that wisdom, then you're still missing part of that. And so feelings are really the gasoline in the engine of creation. So by being able to walk you through a process at the end of every book, or at the end of every chapter, where you can start to feel what it feels like. And as we start to go in here as well, we're going to do a little thing to clear some things on finance as well and relationships. But as you can start to feel what it feels like at the end of every chapter, that actually helps to reset that vibrational set point. We all have that point where sometimes as we stretch, I think a lot of people have experienced this, where they'll feel really good for a little bit of time, and then they feel like a rubber band where they snap back. And they feel like sometimes they snap back even, and they've lost a step or two. They go back to where they feel like they've been. And so my goal was to, as we raise our vibration and as we move into that new space, to be able to hold that new space. And so by putting the meditations in there, it allows you to really have that place of being able to feel it. And being able to feel it gives your body a template for it. It gives you a space to hold that vibration. It allows the neural pathways to start to create new neural netways. It starts to create and fire in new ways that allows you to hold that energy. And so by doing that, it just gives you an experience. And that experience gives you the new template for which you can start to base all of your new experiences off of.
Beautiful. And, you know, everyone, we're going to go through in a little bit more detail in just a little while more about that book. And then Jarrad, he did allude, so Jarrad's got a financial freedom activation process that we'll be doing a little bit later towards the call. But right now, if it's fine by you, Jarrad, I'd love to go to the phones. I think, you know, Spirit does speak through our community. And,
sure.
You know, what's on people's hearts is going to come through the people that we are able to reach on the phone. So everyone, if you haven't yet, *2 to raise your hand, and we're going to go to the phones, and then we'll go to the webinar. So if you're on the webinar page, go ahead and put your question in the question box, and we'll get to as many as we can. There's a lot of you on the phone, so let's just see how it goes. Okay, the first person we're going to go to is in New Orleans, Louisiana, and the last 4 digits of the phone number are 9074. 9074, the last 4 in Louisiana. You're on live.
Hi there. This is Monique.
Hi, welcome.
Hey, Monique. How are you?
Hey, Jarrad. I'm good. This is such a great show. It really is.
Good.
Oh, glad you're enjoying it.
What can we do for you tonight?
Well, you know, it's funny because I thought I had one question when I first raised my hand, but as you speak, so much has come up. So it's kind of like I'm not sure in which direction to go.
Well, go in both. I'm sure we can serve everybody.
Yeah, probably overlap. Well, yeah. I think part of it is, and you spoke to this a bit ago, it's about, you know, I mean, I've been ill for quite a while, and I'm starting to kind of enter back into the world as we know it. And it's, you know, getting back in my body and feeling comfortable in that way and being able to live in the world that we're in.
Yeah. Let me
feel
stop you there.
Great about that. Go ahead.
Hang on, Monique, because where I went was page 187, which is the acknowledgement page. And it says, first and foremost, I want to thank. And that's where I heard stop. And so around getting into your body, there's an exercise, you've probably heard me talk about it before, I'm so excited exercise. And
for sure.
It's simply raising your vibration. For those of you on the line that haven't heard this, I can say, Jarrad, what are you talking about? There's something that I do quite frequently, and like I've said, feelings are very much the fuel in the engine of manifestation. And so I'll write down something or I'll feel something, and this will translate into the process we're going to do in a minute. But I'll feel what it would feel like to have that complete. And I will actually, for example, if somebody won the lottery, if you got $1 million, you wouldn't go, oh, yeah, I got $1 million. You would actually be like, you know, I got $1 million. It would feel really good. You know, you would feel it. There would be a sensation in your body. And so for you, being in your body still carries the memory and the peptides, meaning the spinal fluid, the brain, the memory of you being in the body is still a negative experience. So we are going to the duality, which is I want it, I don't want it, of being in the body. That goes all the way up to star particle energy, which is the first time you separated from source. So duality for you means I'm source, I'm not source. And so it carries with it the sort of heaviness of if I want to be an individual, that means I can't be God. And so well, it gets really heavy there because it also has this connotation of kind of a fall from grace. So to be an individual, to be in the body, also means to be less than, to be looked down upon, to be separate, which goes back to really what Ian was asking earlier about, you know, merging spirit and physical. When I say there's any more for you there, no, but for the audience, so we're going, it's still around the duality, but it's holding the duality, holding the opposite. So we're going to, I say invoke the formula. This is simply bringing in divine love beyond our stories of what divine love are. It's a system of frequencies. We'll touch on them just a little bit for those of you that haven't heard of it before. It literally, when I say divine love, oftentimes we have stories associated, connotations with religion or with what we have to be or do or have to deserve love, to keep love, to earn love. So it's nothing but frequencies, pure white light, allowing that golden light to come in so that you can be one with source, freely choosing to create yourself as you desire. Now, when I say for you as you desire, it's kind of a yes and a no, because there's a part of you that desired to create yourself as sick so you could escape the world. So then this goes back to judging, which goes back into choosing to be in this life, which is going to relate to your second question. So what was the second question?
Well, my second question is, I mean, as you know, when you're sick, you've got a life before and then a life after. So it's coming out in relationships kind of as a new person and and holding space for myself and putting up boundaries in relationships where before I gave myself away, where now that's what got me sick, partly. So now I want to be able to be strong enough to say, oh, no, that's not okay.
Not being afraid to choose you, basically, right?
I'm sorry?
Not being afraid to choose you.
Right, yeah,
kind of
correct, yeah. To say that I matter, right.
Ooh, I like how you said it, I matter. When I look at your energy field and sort of send those words in there, though, they completely fall apart. So
yeah.
We're going to go to Dad around age 7. What's the story?
I don't have the slightest idea. I really don't.
Well, just tell me what was going on with you at age 7, because this is where you got the idea that you don't matter.
And with my dad, not my mom. Okay. Well, I was just a very petite, tiny, quiet, shy child that did not want to ever speak, really. And maybe we had a move. I can't remember. A big move, probably. But I don't remember.
When I say it's around
anything.
a move, I get a no. When I say it's around you not being stood up for and acknowledged, I get a yes.
Okay, that's probably between my parents.
Yeah. Okay. And so, when we're young, our parents are representative of the universe. They're like God does. They feed us, they clothe us, they, in a way control us. So we're looking at, again, any physical imbalance in or outside of your body, anything that creates imbalance in your definition of happiness, and this is from genetic balance. And so this would be from both parents, but predominantly from your dad in this particular case, that creates an imbalance around being happy when you matter and knowing that you matter, being able to matter. That brings up for everyone else in the audience toxic relationships. And so, we have toxic relationships not just with other people, but also with ourselves. So any toxic relationship that we have with self or other, we're going to invoke the formula there, bringing that light in, allowing us to choose to have everything we want in this life. Ian, I'm going to go to you for just a second. If you would, please give me the first song that comes into your mind, just the title of the first song.
You were always on my mind.
Okay. So, Monique, what comes in for you for what was always on your mind was sickness. And so what we're wanting to do is let that go. So what would it be like for you to what would you like to have on your mind? Let's put it that way. And what I want to say before I ask you that question is a lot of times people think freedom is escape. And so when I say to you, what would you have instead of sickness, I don't want you to think of what would replace it, what would be the opposite of it. But if you got to wipe your mind clean right now, what would you create?
I hate to say this, but I mean like a normal life where you get up and there's no sickness. It's, I have something to do. I have somewhere to go. The daily routine of life.
I'm glad you said that, because that's still that's the honest answer that I see in your field, and that's why I said what I said earlier, because energetically you're still holding on to it's a little bit of that duality. It's a little bit of that I'm still creating based on what I don't want. So we're going to go for you and everyone else. We're going to do what I call is the cocktail. We're going to just shake up all the energy at once and pour it out. So it's the ionosphere and beyond, which is where the ionosphere can be kind of described as the furthest reaches of our energy field. So we're directing this light to permeate that and transmute our magnosphere, which is the charge of our I am presence, that space where all aspects of our self, our magnetic charges and pulses, as the energy field goes out and comes back to us, our hydrosphere, which is the water of us, water being the conductive element of our electrical impulses and our energy, where that water becomes our electromagnetic charge. Directing all of that to transmute, to know that I am the creation of all creation. I am the creation of me, my world, my universe, my body, my thoughts. Not me as the ego, but capital I, capital A, capital M, my source presence. And we are redefining that source presence now, letting go of all of the old judgments, all of the old fears, and really tuning into allowing love beyond what we have known source to be or what we have known our I am presence to be, to permeate that space. So that I am becomes the creation, the being, the knowingness of the frequency of the balance of all energy, whether defined or undefined by us, known or unknown to us, masculine, feminine, child, all of it, our belief systems, in and outside of the radiation of our light, within the entirety of our electromagnetic sphere, which is our brain, allowing all of that to move. We're going to bring a little bit of liquid silver energy into our fields, your field, my field, the field of everyone on this call, allowing all of our energy to rebalance in a state of neutrality and wholeness so that we can basically bring ourselves this golden pen and simply write, what would I love to create? And for you, what comes up is joy. Mm-hmm. Joy.
For sure.
The experience of joy. And we're going to, again, reinforce that light in your field, because there's a part of your mental body that says the experience of joy minus sickness or minus any. No, just the experience of joy, because that is the experience of joy. The experience of joy is you in a state of freedom. So around also redefining what freedom is for you, we're going to bring that energy in, and we're going to bring that all the way down to the solar plexus as well, down into your navel to disconnect any of those spaces where you may be feeding off of those old stories. Yeah, and then the song comes in, I am here. So around allowing that I am presence to fill you and be here. I don't get there's anything else, my dear.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. Much love to you. Bye now.
Big for everybody.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Jarrad. Thank you. So beautiful. Yeah, what's coming through now is to take a question from the web. And, you know, this one is from Leah in London. And this one might be relative, so that's why I'm, I think, drawn to ask this particular question, Jarrad. Leah says, I've been doing spiritual work for 25 years and I'm still broke. So there's a paradigm there. I'm at a loss at what to do. So there's, you know, a feeling of loss there, disappointment surely, and exasperation maybe. She says, my relationships keep breaking down and I hate where I live. So truly in a place with that, you know, there's not much joy. Leah, we're just sending you love as well before I bring Jarrad on to answer that question. Just we're really holding the space for you, and I think everyone is just, you know, sensing what you're going through. But if we can just contribute everyone our vibrations of love and send them to Leah. So how can I move forward, she's asking you, Jarrad.
So this is I want to do a few different things, and she'll actually, I think I want to take that and we'll move into our process with her in just a second. But one of the things that I sometimes say to people who have said to me, you know, I've been doing this for 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, and it just because it kind of shocks their system for a second, I'll say, okay, then stop doing it. And they go, well, no, but I have to, it's spiritual, I have to do it. No, stop, because there's something in the idea of the spirituality. It's not the spiritual aspect that's clogged. There's something beyond that. And so it's the idea of the energy. So if I were to say to Leah or to anyone else, let's pretend for 1 second that energy doesn't exist. Let's pretend that we are only physical beings, and we know that's not true, but let's pretend that we are living only in a space of cause and effect. It gets us to a space where we then have to really look at what are we doing in our physical lives. It's kind of like that space of I'm thirsty, there's a glass of water across the table, and sometimes we get into this space of before I get up to get that glass of water, I'm going to clear the energy, I'm going to do the energy work. And we get into that habit where we forget that there are motions to do, that there are things that we can do. Now, I wanted to say that. That's not necessarily for Leah, but I wanted to put that out there because I know sometimes we can get into that. Now, for Leah, it goes back into there's a part of her that's defined her energy as toxic. It goes back into, it's interesting that genetics keep coming up tonight. It goes back into the genetics on her mother's side. So when I look at what that is, it's when I choose to have everything I want, I die. So it is actually spiritual for her to not have everything she wants, because by basically living a life of suffering, that allows her to stay in the physical world and live. So hang on, I'm going to take a deeper look at that. We're going to her physical immune system. So in other words, there's a part of her, I say physical immune system, I mean her actual immune system as a whole being. There's a part of her immune system that actually, I'm going to say, attacks the notion that spirituality and money can coexist. So what I would have her do and what I would have everyone do there is invoke the formula around allowing our divine right destiny to open up and flourish, knowing it is our divine right destiny to create, to allow, to regenerate, to love, to have clarity, wholeness, to let go of sabotage, to embrace our wellness and our peacefulness, to embrace our elation. When I say elation for Leah, that clamps down very, 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 very hard around her first and second chakra, and that feels like it's related to some kind of masculine trauma as well. So I'm going to take a deeper look at that. That goes into others loving me, warm, loving relationships. There's a little bit of a template where God is a judgmental God, and that turns into I don't accept myself in this life. So again, there is a dichotomy forming of I want to be in this life. So to be in this life, I have to deprive myself of everything in this life. Yet, even when I'm in this life, I can't accept myself in this life, so I still have to suffer in this life. So that's the overall template with Leah that we're looking at. So we're going to invoke the formula around that. What comes up underneath that, I'm looking at everybody on the call as well, or that will be on the call as well, is I can only trust you when I don't trust you. So there's a space where we keep ourselves separate, or we keep ourselves out of our power, because we ultimately don't trust what we will create, because we fear that, interesting, kind of the templates of Atlantis and Lemuria are coming up. It's a template of moving into power, but in a way that ultimately causes destruction in some way, shape, or form. And for Leah and for a few other people, what just came up is I didn't know this was coming and I can't handle it, meaning I didn't know I was going to get to all of this. Obviously, part of you did know, or you wouldn't have been on the call tonight. So we're asking that part of us that knows everything, that part of us that is source, to come forward and guide us through this as we allow ourselves to really merge that intellect in our heart. And I'd actually like to right now, Ian, just as we continue to work that energy, that's a good space to enter the group process. So I'd like to have everybody just right now kind of check in with your body, see how your body's feeling. There was another energy that I want to transmute that's, even though I love you, I'm threatened by you and I'm glad to get rid of you. And it's coming in around money. It's coming in around discernment. And when we love discernment, but it threatens us, discernment threatens the ego. It threatens how we operate. And so sometimes we don't stay in that place of discernment, or we make decisions that cause us to make bad financial choices or make bad relationship choices. So then we don't trust our spiritual guidance, or we don't trust those spaces. So we're going to transmute that. But just take a deep breath, and when you exhale, we're going to connect out with sound. And when we do that, it just allows us to really be in our body. It allows that unification. It allows us, and it's not even a unification because we were never separate to start with, but it allows us to start removing the illusion of the separation. So just take a deep breath. And just exhale, connecting with sound. And just shake out your shoulders and your arms. Wiggle your toes. And just feel this gooey golden light, this kind of liquid amber, this honey-like substance start to pour down from above, spinning in a clockwise direction. as if you had a 12 behind you, a 6 in front of you, a 3 to your left, a 9 to your right. Just feel this energy swirling down both around you and inside, opening up your crown chakra, allowing this energy. This is the energy of God in action, of Source in action, pure isness, pure being, pure potential, pure infinite light. And if there's any part of you that wants to resist the light, look at where you're resisting moving in your life. Look at where you are resisting having everything that you say you want in your life. And simply let yourself say yes to opening to the blessings and the love and the abundance. As we move this energy through the crown chakra, opening you to the connection to your true divine self, letting it flow through the third eye and the brain, changing how you see yourself in the present, transmuting how you've seen yourself in the past, letting go of the judgment, allowing you to put forth a new vision for your life, to implement that vision, to start to receive the vision for who you'd like to be as this energy starts to flow down through the throat, opening you to expressing yourself, to speaking your truth, to speaking truth to who you are, allowing this energy to continue to flow down warmly, transmuting, carrying away any blocks, dissolving any blocks as it opens your space, moving through the thyroid and the high heart, the ascended heart, connecting you back into that space of pure love, pure possibility, moving down through the heart. So often we carry our wounds in our heart so that when we start to feel love or engage love, we pull back because we fear engaging our wounds. So just let this energy permeate that space, moving all the way through the back as well. Some of you just had some back pain, and that's where you feel like maybe you're not supported to open up into love. We'll bring a little bit of extra emerald light in here to allow you to see the truth of Source and Spirit moving through you. There we go. Just take another deep breath. Moving this energy down through the solar plexus, allowing you to feel what it feels like to be empowered by Source and by truth. Moving this energy down through the navel, disconnecting. The navel is a space where we take on templates of disempowerment, or we allow ourselves to be fed or fed upon. So this is a space where we now disconnect from cords, where we now allow ourselves to be sovereign and whole in our connection to pure spirit, pure source energy. Letting go of other timelines, letting go of judgment of the past, letting go of the what ifs, letting go of the resistance, allowing ourselves to ground fully into the creation of right now, because right now is where we have the power to create whatever we desire. Allowing acceptance, moving this energy down through the hips, through the root chakra, cleansing and purifying any traumas. Allowing this energy to move through the legs, down through the thighs. Again, I feel a lot of paternal and maternal energy there. So whatever needs to clear out through the lineage of humanity, so that we can know that it is through our eternal source, infinite nature that we birth, not through the trials and tribulations of any particular human genome, but birthed through the purity and the love of the cosmic I Am presence. Allowing this energy now to move through the knees, opening us to the connection of the galactic infinite, down through the calves, the ankles, and just feel the bottoms of your feet open up as this energy flows through, and all of the past wounds and judgments, and allow all of this energy to flow down, flow out of your being and down into the center of the earth, this crystalline core of the multidimensional earth, where it is so bright, so light, so transmutative that anything that enters its space immediately turns back into pure source energy. It's transmuted. Allow anything that you desire to simply move into that space. And you can even take your consciousness there if you'd like to allow things to transmute. And simply hold in your space what it would feel like to have this space with you all the time of freedom. To have the space of knowing that you are filled with the light, free of the muck. And as we start to bring this energy back up from the center of the earth, back into the feet, just allow yourself to pull up something that you would like to create, something you'd like to accomplish financially, something you'd like to experience in a relationship. And don't go to what you think you have to do to create it. Simply allow yourself to be in the feeling of already having it. How does it change? I'm not asking the brain, I'm asking your body, because your body knows there will be a physiological reaction. How does it change how you feel to have this thing, to have this relationship, to have this house, to have this job, to be in this space? How does it feel? Because if you can feel yourself already there, that means you've already done everything you need to be or to do or to have to get there. And the universe can now rush in to fill this space. So let this energy now flow back up through your legs and fill your feet, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your root chakra, filling you up with the energy of what it feels to be in completion around whatever it is you're desiring. Holding the vibration in your body, what it feels like to, quote, be there. And we know that wherever you go, whatever there means for you will change. You'll get there and you'll want something else and something else. Your desires will shift and change. Allow that to be ever moving. Allow your balance to be ever shifting. But allow yourself to welcome and open the change. Allow yourself to feel what it would feel like to be supported and seen and loved and nurtured as this energy moves on up through the navel, where you begin to receive that nurturing, as it moves up through the solar plexus, where you begin to be empowered by your creation. How does it feel? Can you feel happy? Can you feel joyful? Can you feel gratitude? Expand those feelings as you move on up through the heart. Allow your heart to really take in those feelings. Expand it on up through the throat. Can you allow yourself to talk about it as if it's reality? As it moves on up through the brain and the third eye, allowing you to see yourself in that space of completion, moving up through the crown and then flowing this energy all around you, creating a sphere several feet in diameter, and just filling you up, filling this energy, encoding the space around you with these feelings, with this energy, with this love, with this gratitude, with the magnitude of pure source, as we start to spin in a little bit of pure white energy, pure isness, pure potential and possibility, to fill that space with whatever it is you desire, to play in the space of emotion and fun and sovereignty and joy and love. And we'll bring in just a little bit of grounding energy here to really help you be able to find your footing, find your inspiration, to let go, to forgive, to be able to choose happiness. And just take another deep breath. Just kind of wiggle your toes and come back. Yeah. I'd kind of love to know how that made everybody feel. While we were doing that, I went over to Leah again And there was a space, I've shared this story before. A friend of mine was doing a workshop, and a lady came up and she said, I will do anything. I will do anything, 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 anything. Just tears streaming down her face to shift this thing in my life. And my friend, also being an intuitive, looked at her and she immediately intuited that she had been molested by 2 particular people in her life. And she said, you have to forgive these 2 people. And the lady immediately recoiled and she said, I will never forgive those 2 people. Mm-hmm. And so I just want people to be aware too that sometimes when we hold on to grief or anger and we don't even know it, one of the things that I always say to people, I put it very simply, I say, would you rather be right or happy? And oftentimes that forces us to look and we can sit there and say, yeah, but if I choose to be happy, that lets these people off the hook, or that lets so-and-so get away with, X, Y, and Z. And it really doesn't, because the universe deals with each individual according to their own vibration. If you can choose to be happy, if you can choose happiness, suddenly the need to be right will let go. It will dissipate. You will start to be feeling what it feels like to be right, even though right no longer exists in that template, because you will be choosing happy. You will be happy, and everything else in your life will start to fall into place. So I just want to share that as well, because I know sometimes when we feel stuck for so long, that can be another space where we try to validate or we hold on to something. And sometimes we just have to let go and choose that no matter what, we're just going to let go and be happy.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I've got a comment on that, and the thing also that is quite helpful, Jarrad, is also to remember that we all have multiple lifetimes, and we don't necessarily know who we were in a previous lifetime. Sometimes we have remembrances, and there's certainly soul retrievals and things we can do to go back, but really, we might have been that person who committed that act. And this helps us really develop that aura of compassion when we have that remembrance that, who we are now is a result of our soul's journey and evolution. And many lifetimes ago, or even last lifetime, we might have done things that in this lifetime would shock us. But, thank you so much for that advice and that sharing. And if I can just say, Jarrad, that process that you took us through, I'm feeling, the bliss coming into my body right now. So I'm looking down at my hands and I'm feeling in my arms, because I don't know if you know, but whenever truth comes through, I actually physically tingle, mostly from my elbows down to the ends of my fingers. And it's kind of a weird thing, but I'll be sitting in the chair as I am now, and all of a sudden I'll start tingling, and it's not really my whole body. It's really just my forearms and my hands. And then the bliss just comes through, and that was such a beautiful process, really. And I think that I know within myself, it brought me more into alignment. And, if anyone has any comments on what that process did for you, we'd love to hear your comments, if you don't mind us sharing them. But I know that it brought me more into alignment. So thank you on a personal level. Thank you so much for that.
I was laughing because my arm started tingling a minute ago, and I took that sensation from other people, and so I just thought, okay, my arm's tingling. Somebody else is having an experience. It was funny that it was yours.
Yep,
I was laughing.
That's me having an experience. Yeah, brother, I had an experience. What are you going to do about it?
We'll celebrate it.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Hey, I want to get through to some more questions, but before we do that, I also want to make sure that we're sharing with everyone about a little bit more about the book, because it's something that's come out and it's something that's going to be really changing a lot of people's lives. So I really wanted to give you, Jarrad, more or another opportunity to share a little bit more about the book. And then also on the show, Jarrad is also very graciously offered his Living Your Money Miracles program, which for our community, it's probably new to our community. And so I would love it, Jarrad, if you would take people through the offer of your book and then that Living Your Money Miracles offer, because it really does tie into everything that we're talking about today. It ties into, the alignment or the merging or the paradigm shift between the physical and the spiritual. And also, that money and abundance truly is a vehicle to doing so much good in this world. I mean, come on. There's so much being done to this beautiful planet of ours. There's so much being done at the hands of people. You spoke about this in the beginning, who are using money as a tool for power, for greed. And us having money, us having that abundance, we can do so much good. We can change people's lives. We can bring smiles to people. We can ease suffering. It truly is a tool, if used in the right way, to bring forth on this planet a lot of good. And we really almost have to counter the darkness with the light. And if it's in our hands, and we have pure and honest hearts, we can do so much good. And that's why I think, Jarrad, this book is so perfect for everyone, just helping people understand the paradigms and the perspectives and how that can all change to bring really that beautiful divine abundance into their lives. So before you share, Jarrad, I just want to tell people how to follow along. If you are Jarrad might not go exactly by the form, by the way, but if you'd like to look at this visually, on the webinar page, if you're on the webinar, look at the offer button that's below Jarrad's photograph, his smiling face that's looking right back at you. Click that button, and then you'll be taken to a page that says WOTASummit.com/Jarrad, which is JARRAD and the number 4. Everything's lowercase. So WOTA stands for Wisdom of the Ancient Summit.com, WOTASummit.com/Jarrad, JARRAD, and the number 4. And that way you can follow along visually, or at least take a look visually. We'll send this link out again tonight. You'll get it again over the weekend. We'll pop it on Facebook. So you'll get a chance to see it later as well. But enough of me talking, Jarrad. Tell us more about the book as well as the bonuses that you're including.
Sure. So the book is free. That's one of the things that I was very excited to do. You'll get, the book is, like I said, it's a 30-minute guide. I'll just real quick on the chapters. We start off with what is energy. That's the space of just exploring what your essence is, and I'll kind of let people read on the page. We go into the moment of now, which is how we begin our releasing our day-to-day mounting pressures. It's about being able to redefine what the moment of now is. So oftentimes we kind of define our moment of now based on what other people are dictating to us, by what our job says the moment of now is, by what's going on in the world. This is about really finding our true center, which brings us into chapter 3, which is the shift. And the reason I do it day by day is because you're going to be finding that you're going to be integrating so much energy. You're going to be experiencing so much energy that you're going to want to take it a little bit slow. Otherwise, you're going to probably miss kind of a lot of what's in there. But the shift is all about reprogramming your balance point. When I talked earlier about that rubber band snapping back, this is so that you can start to move and you can raise your vibration in a way that you no longer find yourself crashing down. Some of us have those templates where, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or sometimes 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. This is about allowing you to do that. And then we go through the process of creating worthiness. That's one of the biggest problems, I'd say, opportunities as light workers that we have, is we don't feel worthy of being on the planet. We don't feel worthy of creating the abundance, the money. We feel like we have to, save everyone and get everyone away from the planet, rather than realizing that we're on the planet to change the planet. So it's kind of a different look at how to create worthiness and be in the world, but not be of it, which takes us into releasing our stories, which is really allowing us to look at who we are and who we define ourselves as, which takes us into freedom. So we look at passion and purpose, our ultimate reality, how we can change, what true forgiveness is, which is, healing those old wounds, planting those new seeds for greater happiness. There's a chapter on releasing our fear, which is really, really all about moving into a space of love and creative joy. We look at, are we controlling or are we creating? And so oftentimes we think that we're creating, but we feel stuck. And if we feel stuck, oftentimes it's because we're trying to control the universe rather than to flow with the universe. Or sometimes we even have a desire to be controlled by other people. If we react to people such as, media, politicians, there are things like that where we give our power away, and we actually set up a dynamic where we are allowing people to control us and almost creating a template of wanting to be controlled. So we look at how to let that go so that we can really create a new energy of what it is to be home. I talk about genetic beliefs, kind of ego, alter ego, how to let go of those triggers. The brain, I look at the whole brain, not just the kind of smushy stuff in our head, but really looking at the electromagnetic field and how we as spiritual beings in human bodies, how we filter light, how we are the light, and how we really can maximize our creative potential through using those electromagnetic streams. Then there's releasing grief and pain points, understanding releasing clutter. That's a really big thing for a lot of people because clutter is not just things that we keep on our desk. A lot of us have emotional clutter. A lot of us have mental clutter. And so it really is about creating the best you that you can be. And then we look at creating your future, true abundance, synchronicity. Procrastination can be a really big thing that a lot of us have as light workers because we fear that we can only create once, or we fear that once we do it, again, there's going to be some kind of cataclysmic event. So I look at all of the different trigger points there. We look at choice in new ways, and then going to the final chapter is relationships. But it's all about relationships that we have with ourselves and with the world, with source, and with everything else. And so then along with that book, those are kind of the third chapters. Along with that, you will get creating the relationship of your dreams. And that's not just about relationships with people. It's relationships with your health and with your career and with your money, with the universe. It's about really being able to stand in a place of sovereignty and joy. Then there is I Am Abundant Now, which is what would life be like if you were literally a vibrational magnet for money. It's kind of like no matter what you did, what if, it wasn't about earning brownie points with the universe, that the universe just showered you with abundance no matter what. And so many of us aren't ready for that. We feel like that would be sort of this, it would be an accident. It would be something that, we were not supposed to have. So we really dive into that space there. And then the third one is Release Everything. And these are all about 15 to 20 minutes long. They're backed with music. But every time you listen, you'll have a different experience. And then you also get the book ships out March 12th. That's the publication date. But you'll get the journeys right away, and you'll also get the digital copy right away. And so that is the first part, and that's all free. It's just $6.95 for shipping. So that's my gift to you to help get all of that out there. And then we have the Living Your Money Miracles program, which this is a program that I've had people literally within the first 2 days double their income. We've had people, while they were listening to the actual call that came with it, find out that they got raises, that their spouses got raises. People have, gotten houses, cars. One lady got a free trip to Hawaii. Michelle, if you're listening out there, hi, Mish. But all kinds of really, really neat stuff. And we start off with that. And these journeys are a little longer. If you've never heard one of my journeys, they come with and without music, because some people really they found that without the music, it's kind of like me teaching. Whereas with the music, they find that they go into kind of a meditative trance, but they go very deep. It's like a computer rebooting. Your energy is rebooting. And so Karma Cleanse is where we start, and it really is, it's a 33-minute journey where we release every accumulated story of disempowerment. And so we really look at freeing ourselves from burden and blame and all of the unconscious agreements, the cords, all of the spaces we've taken on, not just around money, Ian, but around what karma is. Like, we live in a space now where we don't have to repeat lessons. We don't have to be repeating those old loops. We don't have to be suffering because of things that we've done before. We can step into a new sovereignty. And so that breaks all of those loops that may be keeping us in poverty. Then we step into a light DNA activation, which is all about activating your infinite supply. That takes us into the first instance that we as Source chose to experience ourself as sort of an individuation. And so it is I talk about it as a divine crystalline tree of our own soul, and it takes us up through that crystalline tree, through all of the different galaxies, and really unites us, re-encodes, opens our physical being up to how we can shift our ability to create and manifest. And then we move into exploring true freedom. And I said it on this call that true freedom is not about escaping. It's the ability to create and make manifest what you desire in the moment of now. And so this is a journey that starts to clear that energy out and takes you into a space where there's no resistance, where it's just love, where you really open up to that portal of energy. Then we move into transmuting the fear of change, because that's a very big one. As we start to step into what would it be like to have everything we desire, oftentimes we start to fear, well, what is this going to do to my life? What is this going to do to relationships? How are other people going to see me? Even at the very unconscious level. And so fear of change is one of the biggest hurdles we have to abundance, even though we think we want it. We have thousands and thousands of these subconscious thoughts and beliefs that are all about needing to control, be controlled, all of these things. So we start to align and we start to transmute those old energies of attachment, the non-worth, the self-abuse, the judgment, so that we can step into that total freedom. Item 5 then goes into the prosperous energy field, which is all about disentangling old emotional attachments and stories of what money is. I introduced kind of what I call the filter energy to transmute our old stories here. And this, again, goes into really repatterning our electromagnetic field, which is the brain, but it's how we allow ourselves to process light. We are constantly picking up information. If you walk into a crowded like a shopping mall, for example, on Black Friday, you might feel that energy, right? Where like everybody's going crazy because there's sales and people are, whereas versus you walk into a spa and you go, wow, this feels really nice and calm in here. We're picking up energy all the time. So this is the thing that starts to repattern our field and train it to start picking up on the abundance that is out there, because there is abundance in the universe. It's just, what are we picking up to? What are we tuning in? What are we tuning into? There's knowing my purpose, which is all about really being able to speak to your source self. So if you have the ability to travel into the infinite, if you have the ability to really experience yourself as your light body and have a conversation with source, what would that conversation be? And so this is something that you can do as often as you'd like. It's a little over 16 minutes, but it takes you into that space. There is a light language activation that is all about the law of attraction. This is one that after I channeled it in, I listened to it back, and I heard a very loud thud, and that thud was my head hitting the table because the energy was so strong, I kind of passed out listening to it.
Wow.
I don't have that reaction very often, but that's one of my favorite tracks because it opens you to receiving and giving. When I say giving, it's giving to yourself. It's tuning into that pure source and being able to truly give to yourself everything you've wanted. Then we have anchoring in abundance. That's all about recalibrating your frequency, raising your vibration, and anchoring it in. Because if you don't anchor it in, it's just a space that can kind of waft and move through your field. We move on. I know there's a lot in here, but living my miracle light language activation. And this is all about you living your light. It's about you being able to retune your subconscious mind so that it's working with your conscious desires rather than against. And so this is kind of getting all of your energy in a space of really allowing and working together. And then we have understanding and transmuting the money shadow. That's about a 40-minute session with me. And the question that I posed at the beginning is your past creating your present? And for, I'd say probably 99% of the, sort of non-light workers in the world, the answer to that is yes. And even for light workers, a lot of times it's like 70% the answer is yes. And so this is a power-packed journey. It's a channel, but it's all about really exploring the shadow self and deeply, deeply, deeply cleansing and transmutating through a bonfire all of that energy that is no longer serving us and all of the false beliefs that we have about money that keep money separate, that keep it from being a spiritual energy, that keep it from being a clean energy, that keep it from being an energy that we as divine beings feel that we can celebrate or participate in. And so it's really our ability to take that energy back, to reclaim it as divine source on this planet. And then we have fueling my freedom, which again, it's about allowing financial flow and about feeling what it is to be free. There's Breath of Abundance. There's a video that I do where I talk about connecting through divine essence, and then we go through 3 different parts where they get longer as we go, where it's just connecting into breath and really learning how to program the body so that every breath you take is actually an acknowledgement of the abundance of source, of spirit, of connection, and of flow on this planet, so that you start to build a field of plenty, and you start to build a field of gratitude with every breath you take, therefore building that vibrational signature within your body so that you are constantly attracting wealth and health and vitality. Then there's money and emotions. It's all about how we create. It's kind of an intimate discussion of our truest desires and what we like. There's 6 pre-recorded energy retreats where we talk about energy of money, what I am, what our blocks are. I'll let people kind of read because there's a lot more on there.
Yeah.
There's some journeys. There's the creation formula, a whole bunch more, plus an audio book. So, and all of that for $197, which originally it was way more than that. So, because again, I want to live in a world where, everybody's abundant, because that's, when we live in a world of lack, everybody is pitted against each other. And when we live in a world of plenty, everybody is allowed to be who they are and love who they are. And that creates a world where we're able to love each other. And that's why I give so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, powerful program, powerful program. And, when I'm reading through the comments, and there are, hundreds and hundreds of you beautiful shining lights on this call. So thank you. There's still so many of you on here. It's so amazing, the connection and the resonance that you have. Everyone here can just really feel your truth coming through, Jarrad. So thank you for that. I want to
thank everybody for coming on as well. It feels like we had a pretty good experience.
Yeah. I mean, energy super high. I just wanted to follow up with not reading, but just sharing what people are sharing about on the questions. And there's people that are caught up in horrendous, debt cycles. So just that cycle of debt. There's people who are struggling to pay the rent. People who have, energetic and
I want to share mine. And I had no job. I was $90,000 in debt. I didn't have a house. I had a car that was maybe 14 years old at the time. I had been at the time in voiceover. I was out of school at this point. And there was a strike. So I was out of work for a year. Didn't know what I was going to do. Thought maybe I was going to have to go back to school. And instead I wound up, I said, with my degrees, with everything I have, if I have to work at the food court, that's what I'm going to do to stay in Los Angeles, to do what I'm going to do. I started working on, that was 2007-ish, 2008. That's when I started my first book. And when I made the commitment, things started to shift. And it was through doing a lot of the things that I teach today, but within a very short period of time. It was actually from the moment I said, I don't care what I have to do, this is what I'm committed to doing. I said that in December, and in January, somebody called and offered me a job that within the year wiped out all of my debt. And because everybody had told me, you've got to claim bankruptcy, you're too young for this. But I knew I knew that wasn't my truth. But at the same time, I know what it's like to go to the mailbox and to have those, the notices in the mailbox. I know what it's like. I've been there. That's one of the reasons that I teach this, is because I've been there. I mean, I went through it, whether it's physical, whether it's from those places of debt. So wherever you're at, you can change it. You have the power within you to change it. I mean, I'm not just saying that as somebody who, thinks it's a great idea to say it. It's literally, this is the process I went through to create something completely different in my own life. You have the power to change it.
Beautiful. And that's really what I was getting at, Jarrad, when I was, so thank you for sharing that, because, that's exactly what I was getting at, because there are so many questions, I'm reading them on the web, that where people are in a situation that is that there's suffering, there's loss, there's disappointment. And, what I was going to ask you that you've already answered is, if they turn towards your program and they embody the work and the processes and the techniques that you've outlined and they do the work, then there's ultimate possibility to get through to the other side and to really live a life that is more in alignment with what the universe truly wants for you, to recognize the abundance as your birthright.
I fully believe that. I mean, I don't ever hold anything back. I don't ever, it's never like, oh, I'll tell you this now, but I'll tell you the real good stuff later. As I learn, I teach, and I teach everything that I know, and I teach everything that I've learned. Everything in this is everything that I did, and even more than that. Even simply right now, if you're in a space where you can't even afford that, I would tell you every single day, stay in a space, create a space where you can feel what it feels like. I did this for basically several months while I was working on getting a car and paying off the bills. Instead of being angry when I went out to the mailbox, I started feeling what would it feel like if there was a check out there. I don't know what the check is from. I don't know what it's for. But what would it feel like if there was a check in the mailbox? Because if there was a check in the mailbox, that would mean I was working. That would mean I had a job. That would mean that I was doing something. So what would that feel like? And suddenly, instead of hating Bill, it was like, oh, that would feel nice. And I went, oh, wow, I noticed that feeling in myself. So I thought, okay, what was that feeling I just felt? It was just a little bit of freedom. It wasn't total freedom. I didn't jump all of a sudden from feeling awful to amazing in, a split second. But I felt that little bit of relief, and then I allowed myself to explore that relief. If you'll allow yourself, so often we feel the pain and we ignore it. But when we ignore it, it just sits there and stinks up the room. If you'll look at it and you'll allow yourself to look at why it's there, and then you'll allow yourself to feel into something better, and then slowly explore that feeling that feels better, and allow yourself to feel something better and feel something better and feel something better, you start to open up those possibilities. And like I said, if you want to look at that page, you can literally see where all of the topics start to tie into each other, where karma cleanse, okay, we let go of all that. Then we go into exploring freedom. Okay, well, when I explore freedom, what does that bring me? Change. Well, what if I'm afraid of change? Okay, we transmute the fear of change. Well, what about my money shadow? Okay, we go in and look at the money shadows. So again, it's really looking at all of that, but letting go of all of it.
Yeah, amazing. And then, everyone, one thing I want to add to this as well, and, for those of you that have been part of the wisdom community for a while, you've heard me say this. When we are, a lot of us are in really the work of service, right? Seva. We want to be of service to others. And you can truly be of service to others. It's hard to be of service to others when you worrying about where your next meal is going to come from, or you're worried about your credit card debt. It's more difficult to be of service to others when you're in a situation like that. We can truly be of the greatest service to others when we're in a position where we have accepted the gifts that the divine is giving us. And very often it's our own paradigms, and Jarrad teaches about this. It's our own limiting belief system that is putting up that veil between us and that which we are destined to receive. And when that veil is removed, then we can truly step into our role as the compassionate one, the kind one, the loving one, and our whole life and the lives of others around us just flourishes because we've actually taken action to, upgrade our system, so to speak, and upgrade our belief systems. So I love it, Jarrad, that you put this together, and I love it that you've gone through this. I don't love it that you've gone through it, but you needed to go through it. I mean, you needed to go through that.
No, I do,
right?
I wouldn't do anything differently because it gave me the tools to create. I mean, it's everything I ever wanted. It came in maybe a different way than I would have consciously done it, but now I know how to do it. And, once you know how to do it, nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I don't know how much time you got. I'd love to keep you longer. Can I keep you for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Let's do that. So everyone, we're going to move away from this right now, but everyone, at least everyone should be getting that book. At least. It's free, pay shipping. And then that's available anywhere in the world, by the way. You know, we've had people from Australia say, is it only for US? No, it's anywhere in the world that you can
everywhere.
You can get a ship. And so they get a digital copy, and then they actually get the physical copy once it comes out, right? So it's actually something they can hold in their hands.
Immediately within probably a half hour, you should get the digital copy plus all the journeys, plus there's I think a master class for abundance, and then so you get all that right away in the digital copy, and then the actual book will ship when it goes to print March 12th. And so and then it'll ship that week, yeah.
All right, everyone. Do it. All right. All right. So I'm just going to just ask for guidance for who needs to have their question answered. So we're going to go to Colorado Springs, Maine. In Colorado, 7915 are the last 4 digits of your phone number. You're in Colorado Springs somewhere. It might be Anne, maybe, or...
Yes, that's me.
Hi. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. I actually have the book because I listened to you, Jarrad, on Darius and ordered it. And
oh, great.
I'm just a little... I love it. I'm just a little ways in and distracted a bit because of life right now, just sort of pressing in, right? And one of the pressings in is that I'm 73 years young. I'm very active as an artist, a creator being, and have my own practice, energy practice, where I do ascension work, which I love. I just don't have... Well, I don't have the flow that really is needed to even support me with my partner, who's also an artist, a furniture maker. Here, it's just, so I feel like the ceiling is like pressing for change, a big change. And that part kind of, I'm sort of I've moved a lot in my life, and I've had so many magical things happen every time change has come, and I've always been guided. I know that, deeply guided.
But you've had enough change.
I've had so much change. I kind of would love to just have that feeling of stability, I guess. And I know I'm the one that creates that. Sure. I know I create that.
I totally get it. I want to go into some core beliefs with you, first of all. The very first one is I don't have enough energy to do this. So you're laughing because it's true. So let's invoke the formula around I don't have enough energy to do this. This is to get myself together and create myself. That's what creates the movement in your life, because there's this belief that to actually stay in one place and create takes a lot more focus and a lot more energy than to be sort of carried by the wind of creation and blown into something new. Do you know does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, I feel tremendous freedom when I'm moving. So when I move I go back and between the Springs and Santa Fe to work, for instance, and I love that movement.
Okay, that makes total sense, but you see how that kind of, I'm not saying you're confusing to the universe, but there's a sort of confusing belief system at play there when you're saying you're wanting the stability, yet the universe keeps moving you. So it's kind of like you've got the belief system that the movement is what creates, but that's because the stability, staying still for you takes too much energy, and that's not what you don't have it. That's the belief. So, give me the first movie title that pops into your head. We're gonna go subconscious here.
Okay. Michael.
Okay, like John Travolta and the Angel Wings.
Yes.
Okay. So So I go to the scene where he's like dancing, so it's fun. So when I say you're having enough fun in life, I get a no. This is interesting too, because what comes up is somebody else is supposed to have the fun. So you're the worker, which actually this comes up with your partner, because there was another core belief there about you have to give yourself up to take care of the people you love.
Yeah, a
little bit. That hit the nail on the head. Okay, so so we're going to let's go ahead and give the intention that we move that out. We're going to bring in a little bit of violet flame.
All right.
Do you know it was your maternal grandfather? Did you know your maternal grandfather?
Well, one of them, lived with us until he died. He died in our house when I was about 5 or 6.
Tell me a little bit about that, because that has to do with all of this somehow.
I have some memories of him reading to me, and he really took the time to be present, which I guess he was never with his dad, but it was his house. Yeah. So we grew up my father bought his house, so he lived in that house. And then
I've got it. So he was present, and then he was gone. So there was also a lesson there for you. I don't want to say lesson, but what you took on as a core belief is that if you stay present too long in one place, you die. So again, you've got to keep moving and moving and moving and moving.
Wow. I've moved 31 times in my life. I don't know.
That's a lot.
Wow. There's a theme.
Yeah, I have, and they've been amazing experiences, and still, it's been tough, I think, to keep.
Yeah. But see, that's the cool thing about belief systems, though. We find ways to make them work for us. But basically, if you put it all together, it's that you don't have enough energy to stay in one place, because if you stay in one place, it's going to take a whole lot of energy. Now that makes sense, because not only are you going to have to be taking all the energy and focus of creation, but you're also going to have to be fending off the energy of checking out, right? Because that's the belief you got from Grandpa, was if you're present too long and stay in one place, you're going to die. So you're having to deal with that energy. So then you're having to move all the time, but then moving is wearing you out, and you want to stay in one place, but you have all those belief systems that say, no, you got to keep moving, you got to keep moving, you got to keep moving. And then you're wanting the abundance, but you're not allowing yourself to root in, because if you have the abundance, you're likely to stay in one place. And so you're kind of sabotaging that. And then on top of that, you've got to give yourself up to take care of your partner. So you can't have the abundance, because that's another way you give yourself up, because then you have to stay in that kind of martyr position, because that's how you make sure they're taken care of.
Wow, this is intense. Okay, so I have lived in the house. I've lived in one place. The longest was the last place. So I've been here 6 years, and the time before that was 12 years. I thought that was pretty miraculous.
You're making headway. But let's go back, and we're gonna invoke the formula around all of that.
Okay.
Around letting your energy templates be completely reborn.
Okay.
So that you're ready, you're willing, you're able, and you have the knowingness that's filled within you that the I am presence, your I am presence created you to stay and to love and to create in ways that you find fulfilling and peaceful and connecting and joyful. And what are some words that you'd like to put in there?
Beautiful.
Stable.
Stable. Yeah, creating joy and beauty, because the work I can't even believe what I've actually created as mandalas and paintings. Sometimes I look at them and go, I didn't do that. I can't even believe I did that. But
it's the parts of you that get inspired. I want to bring in a little bit of this liquid silver energy, just kind of running it through your body and through the brainstem, just to help transmute out with the old and in with the new. Just take a deep breath. direct your energy centers to open up. Whew, there we go. All right. And then there's just kind of a little bit of knowing that you are perfection in the moment of now, meaning that you're perfect as you are, that there is, sometimes we strive for perfection, yet none of us are perfect. If anybody tells you they are, run away. So I get you're good, my dear.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Everything you said really touched, and there's really no need to go back into that other than stay with this feeling that feels freer, for sure.
Yeah. So that was a great, and thank you, because that was a really great example of how our belief systems kind of set up our lives.
Yeah, it's a lot of life I've set up.
Yeah. Well, we all do it. Yeah. We all do it.
Yeah.
And so enjoy the book.
Well, thank you so much. And the other thing I just want to say that I really heard the other day, and maybe it was in the book, but it was having gratitude for all of the things we've been through, not as punishment, but as this incredible experience that becomes the foundation of what we get to offer, like your experience. But to realize it was all perfect in a certain way. It was all perfect, and it brought us here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. That was the perfection message that just came through for you. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
No pun intended again with the perfection. Yeah. That's in the book. So thanks for the plug.
Really appreciate it. And I'm putting the intention to do that whole program. We'll see how that unfolds, but that I would love to.
Awesome. Well, you'll really enjoy it. So I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you,
show.
And much love. Thank
much
you.
Love.
Much love to you. All the best.
Yeah.
Sweet. So beautiful.
It's fun to see what happens when we can start to unwind our belief systems.
Yeah, right. And how firmly entrenched they are. And so we're so, it's like we're caught up in this, the visual that's coming to me is we're caught up in this vine, like a vine that you find in the jungle, and we can't escape
totally.
it. It's like we just, wrapped up in those belief systems. And, and just to mention, 31 times, it's one thing to move 31 times. It's another thing to remember that you've moved 31 times.
Right?
And exactly. So there's a certain attachment there that certainly can be shifted. And that's the beauty of living in the quantum and doing this amazing work, Jarrad, that you do. The answer is energy. Everything is energy. You can help people break through and shatter those perceptions and paradigms and limiting beliefs and really emerge on the other side.
Yeah, it's like I love your analogy, you're wrestling with that vine, and because you don't know what it is, but you're just fighting it. And then it's always fun for me to help people identify what the beliefs are, because you could even hear it with her. She was like, oh, and then then she tells the story, and you're like, well, of course that's what it is. But knowing nothing about her, going in. But once you start putting a name to it, it's like the vine starts to loosen up, and you're able to kind of wriggle free. And it's just always fun for me to watch people realize, oh, it is just energy, but we don't know it when we're fighting it because it's reality. It's our reality. And like I said, that's why I always share so freely about it. If people have heard my backstory about kind of the vines that I fought in my life, because when we're fighting them, I've joked before and said, if, 40-year-old me time traveled back to meet 20-year-old me, 20-year-old me would try to punch 40-year-old me in the face if I said, hey, buddy, it's just energy, or hey, you have a choice. I would not have wanted to hear that, because that's not what it felt like. But when you can really open up to understanding that it is just energy, it frees you to being able to release yourself from all of it. It really does.
Yeah. Well, Jarrad, it's been amazing having you on the show. Thank you so much. This is, as I said in the beginning, this is the first time that you've been on Wisdom of the Ancients, and I really feel that you've brought a depth and an energy to the show, and you've helped us look at things a little differently, and that's always the goal, is to, resonate with some people and help us, pull back the veil to see what's on the other side. Is there anything that's coming to you or has come to you that you feel you should share with the group as we start to wind this down?
I would just say wherever you are right now, and Ian touched on this earlier, there is a possibility. There is not beyond a possibility, there's a probability. There is a version of you out there that exists that is everything you desire to be, and there is a transition from who you are now to becoming that person. If you will allow that journey and you will allow it through making conscious choices and choosing to align in every moment with not just who you want to become, but allowing you to say in every moment, I am aligning with who I am. In every moment, I am aligning with who I am, and who I am is a divine child of this universe. I am source. I am the I am presence. I am whatever it is, however you identify with spirit in that way. If you can start to take a few moments every day and create that space of gratitude, of connection, no matter what it is you're going through. And again, I've been there, having been almost 6 figures in debt. I've been to that space of going to the emergency room, weekly, having Holter monitors, having been chronically obese from the 3rd grade all the way up through high school. I mean, having broken bones all the time. Whatever it was, I've been in those spaces. So I'm not just saying it because I read it or I learned it. I'm saying it because I experienced it. If you can put yourself in a space of just allowing a little acceptance, a little less resistance, finding something to be grateful for, something to be thankful for, something to look forward to in life, you can open a doorway that will allow so much more shift to come rushing into your life. And whether it's this program, whether it's just listening to Ian's show, whether it's allowing yourself to meditate, to get quiet, to connect in, you have the potential and the possibility. And I truly believe that anything is possible when we connect into that space. And if you will just allow yourself to love who you are, not just who you're becoming, but love who you are as you're in the becoming, you can create miracles.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I'm going to end with that. That was so beautiful. Let that vibration of what Jarrad has just said just permeate your space and the space. Thank you so much. Jarrad, again, thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you on the show. Really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody.
Of course, of course. And all you beautiful shining lights, thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for being part of the community and being with us and being committed to your own growth. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate everything that you're doing in this world and beyond. And we thank Divine Mother, Divine Father, Mother Earth, Father Son. We thank the ancient ones. We thank all the beautiful divine beings of love, light, power, and service for bringing us all together and supporting us and helping us on our own soul's journey and evolution. Thank you, thank you. Much love to you all. See you again. Bye now.